My Lord and my God, I firmly believe that you are here, that you see me, that you hear me. I adore you with profound reverence. I ask your pardon for my sins and the grace to make this time of prayer fruitful. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me. This blessed month of November has given us the chance to rivet our attention on the last things. That term, the last things, has been used for a long time to refer to what happens when our life on this earth comes to an end. Why November for pondering the last things? Well, it all begins with our determination to pray for the holy souls in purgatory throughout the entire month. Then, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, we are no doubt moved by that point in St. Josemaria's The Way. Have you seen the dead leaves fall in the sad autumn twilight? Thus souls fall each day into eternity. One day the falling leaf will be you. With this background in mind, we turn to our Mother Mary for perspective. She is the Queen of Heaven, after all. She is determined to keep our focus on the goal. Furthermore, today is the memorial of her presentation. Mary, help us to ponder during this time of prayer the reality that one of these days our Father God will call us back home. Speaking of perspective, consider this point from the Forge. At least once a day, cast your mind ahead to the moment of death, so that you can consider the events of each day in this light. I can assure you that you will have a good experience of the peace this consideration brings. How easy it is to get thrown off course by the things that go wrong each day. We all tend to give them way too much importance. But when we consider them in the context of eternity, we come to the conclusion, why? Why have I been so concerned about that? It simply does not matter. A tremendously useful exercise is to ask ourselves a simple but jarring question. What if I were to be told that I have only 1 week to live? Well, that would certainly change our way of looking at everything. Our attention would suddenly be riveted on the truly essential. Everything else would fall into oblivion. And we would ask ourselves, why? Why do I give so much importance at times to things that just do not matter? Why, for example, do I persist in holding on to that grudge with a death grip? Why have I refused to speak to so-and-so for years now? It's ridiculous. You will be amused by a story that Abraham Lincoln told his generals at the end of the American Civil War. The story goes like this. A man had a few days to live, and he was told that he should make his peace with his enemies. The man he hated the most was a fellow named Brown in the next village. So Brown was sent for, and the sick man began to say, in a voice as meek as Moses, that he wanted to die at peace with all his fellow creatures, and he hoped that he and Brown could shake hands and bury all their enmity. The scene was becoming too pathetic for Brown, who had to wipe the gathering tears from his eyes. After a parting that would have softened the heart of a grindstone, Brown reached the door, when the sick man suddenly rose up on his elbow and called out to him, "But see here, Brown, if I should happen to get well, that old grudge stands." If only we could interview some of the holy souls in purgatory in order to get their perspective. We would ask them about their regrets in order to learn from their experience. Undoubtedly, they would tell us how much they regretted holding on to ways of behavior that displeased the Lord. Perhaps, we can imagine, they would even quote the following point from St. Josemaria. Now is the time to untie all the bonds that bind us. Let us prepare ourselves at all times for that step that will bring us into the eternal presence of the Most Holy Trinity. How can we prepare for that moment? By reflecting each day on the inescapable fact that God can call us back home whenever, and we must always be ready. And we already know the questions He will ask. Did you love me, and did you keep my commandments? In the last century, in Washington, D.C., there was a very gifted preacher, a Presbyterian minister by the name of Peter Marshall. He ended up contracting a serious disease in his late 40s. In one of his final writings, he said the following: "When the clock strikes for me, I shall go. Not 1 minute early, not 1 minute late. Until then, there is nothing to fear. I know that the promises of God are true, for they have been fulfilled in my life time and time again. Jesus still teaches and guides and protects and heals and comforts. The Lord still wins our complete trust and our love." He concludes by saying, "The measure of a life, after all, is not its duration, but its donation. How much will you be missed?" And we could add, how much during my lifetime have I given of myself? This is a chance for us to pose to ourselves what you could call big picture questions. After all, we want to do whatever to keep before our eyes the biggest perspective possible. To that end, the Holy Father recently posed some very, very helpful big picture questions. Here's what he wrote. Instead of running after superficial satisfactions and playing a role for the benefit of others, we would do better to think about the really important questions in life. Who am I, really? What am I looking for? What direction do I want to give to my life, my decisions, and my actions? Why and for what purpose am I in this world? How do I want to look back on my life once it ends? What meaning do I want to give to all my experiences? Who do I want to be for others? Who am I for God? Mary, you already have the answers to these all-important questions. After all, you are the seat of wisdom. Guide us in our daily reflection about the meaning of life, so that we can truly take heaven by storm. I thank you, my God, for the good resolutions, affections, and inspirations that you have communicated to me in this meditation. I ask your help in putting them into effect. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me.